Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Shaostoul, and this is the first episode of Modders Mod Review. This series is typically going to consist of 3 parts per episode. A mod is going to be chosen from the workshop and evaluated on the content of the page presented. Then we'll move to viewing the mod in-game to make sure everything checks out. Then we'll go to the mods folder and evaluate the structure and code of the mod and provide insight to modders of what sort of content you could pull from the mod as learning material. These first episodes are mostly going to be limited to my mods, as I'd like to establish some sort of baseline of reviewing mods. That way I could finely tune how it is I want to do the various reviews. As a result, the first episodes may be a bit longer than the later ones. Also, if you find or are the author of a mod, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below on a mod you'd like reviewed, and I'll see what I can do. For this first episode, we'll be reviewing the Shaostoul Rotors mod. So let's go ahead and open that, and here we can see that I'm on the mod page, and it's the Shaostoul Rotors. Here on the first image, we can see that there is a large and small ship variant. They are survival ready. There's a 1x1, 2x2, and 3x3 normal styled rotors, a gap connector rotor, hinge rotor, and a hollow passage rotor. As we can see from the image, they have what look like conveyor ports on them, and we can see the different sizes. As you can also see that suggestions, commissions, and donations are accepted. And going further down, we can see it's a part of some server mods and a complete subpack collection here. As you can see here, I've been modding since May of 2014, and it's been a long time. Some of the details, we can see that all blocks are in a Shaocorp tab. They do not appear in the all tab. That, however, is currently a little broken. They do appear in the all tab, but they will typically be at the very bottom of the list and try to be after everything that else you load. So if you have other mods, mine will hopefully be at the end of the list because I have my own tab dedicated to my mods. Large small ship, DirectX 9, DirectX 11. There is info on one of the roadmaps that the devs are removing DirectX 9, so that's no longer going to be a thing eventually, but for now it's there. Here we can see that available blocks are 6 conveyored rotors, but there's no more information about the blocks, no like torque force or offset or anything like that, so that could be improved upon. That way somebody can just look at the mod, go, hey, this is the specs of it, and then go from there. We can see there is a master pack. That is my master mod that has all of my blocks in it at once. And then I have a master collection, which is all of my sub packs that make up the master pack, but split into separate mods. The reason this is done is because I have so many mods. I have over 800 blocks in the master pack alone. And as a result, if you're loading from a hard disk drive, you might get like an hour load time. And if you go to the master collection, which is just the sub packs, then that hour load time goes down to maybe 10 minutes. But if you're using a solid state drive, it doesn't really matter. But if you're using a server, I suggest using the collection. That way you are able to cater to the most amount of people possible. Going down a little bit, we can see that there is a Patreon page and then some links to the official forum and then my forum thread where I have all my learning content and mods and all that stuff. Here we can see it has about 2,200 subs, which is barely any, but you know, it's not one of the super popular weapon mods or something like that. It's just simple rotors. Alright, so here we can see that it's been updated March 26th. Which means that the mod is always getting attention. It released in July of 2015, so that means that since it's been within 3 months of the mod releasing, and it doesn't have any programming to it. It's just a simple block mod that we're not going to have to worry about it breaking from patch to patch like some of the programming mods have happen. All right, so that pretty much wraps up everything on the web page that I want to check out. As you can see, I'm fairly active in responding to issues and providing update information there. And I could probably use some more images so you could see them actually being used, but it's fine for now. I don't actually play the game enough to use my blocks in any sort of design capacity, so that's why it's this way. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and open up Space Engineers, and I'm going to load a new map. I'm going to load the Lone Survivor, that way I can see the mod without any extra stuff with it. I might in future episodes decide to load with my master pack or something like that, so I could do some design choices that I want to do, but we'll get to that when we get there. Scrolling down, I could find Rotors and just throw that on there, and then I want to change some of the settings here. So I like turning off encounters and drones and sun rotation for doing these sort of videos because I feel that it makes it a little bit easier on trying to keep everything consistent. Alright, so Lone Survivor, offline, and safe. So pressing OK downloads the mod and goes in. So if everything goes according to plan and there's nothing wrong, the game should load up. It might pop up if the mod is broken saying that the world is corrupt. Just remove the mod, try to load into the game, and if that issue goes away, then you know it's limited to that mod. It's something that modders mostly have to deal with, but sometimes if you're using mods, it might be a good idea to know that information. Alright, so first thing I want to do is I want to press F11, which is a debug menu, and it lets us see some various information. Here you can see that the mod brings up 20 warnings, and that is not something that you have to worry about as a mod user. All of the mods do it as long as they have a block categories.sbc, which sorts blocks into the various tabs, and I believe it's for every entry you have in there, it gives you one of these warnings. Us as modders have tried to get that hidden, but we haven't yet had any success with that. Alright, so there is a large and small ship version, so we're going to go ahead and just look for the large ship version and then we'll check out the small ship. Scrolling down a little bit, we can see that I have the blocks here, and you can see how they're kind of aligned here. If I go to another tab and then come back, you can see they moved. Now if I scroll all the way down, you can see they're all the way on the side and down as far as they can. So that's what I meant by trying to hide it from the old tab. Hopefully I can make some more headway in actually hiding it. That way they don't actually show up here and clog it up if you're using all my blocks. But eventually. Alright, so here we can see the Shaostoul tab, and we can see the various blocks. Now here's our 1x1 and our 2x2, 3x3, the gap, the hinge, and the hollow rotor. And looking at the various stats, I can actually gauge whether or not these are balanced to the villain one within the game. So what I'll do is I will find the advanced rotor there, and then I'll find the standard rotor right here. Alright, so that will let us see how they compare, and that should be good. Alright, so I want to add armor block. Alright, so first things first, let's see how they look. There's the 1x1 version, 2x2, 3x3, the gap, And the hinge, if it lets me do what I want to do. There we go. And I'll place this one later because it's actually dangerous to place. Alright, so here we can see they pretty much look fairly standard and consistent throughout. They have a metallic finish on the sides of the main component, and then the base has sort of like a bumpy looking texture to it, and it looks like it has some bolts holding things down. And yeah, we can see the conveyor port on the top of each one in the center. We can see the gap one with its conveyor ports on all sides and on the bottom here. And we got the hinge one right here. Now, another thing that we could do is press F11 and look at the physics of the block. So here we can see that the collision mesh is just about the same size as the mesh is. That could probably be tweaked a little bit to fit more snugly to the model, but it doesn't matter too much. It looks like all of the rotors are level with a large block. So that means that if you were to place blocks on top of here and you were to have it spin, that this block here will collide with this. Now that's good to keep in mind, that you can have everything be flush, but you'll still run into the collision issues, but you should mostly be okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. You can see this has a blue collision mesh, and that's technically because it doesn't have a collision, so the model defaults to a simple cube. Alright, let's go ahead and look at something else. We'll look at the dummies. And here we can see all of the various dummies that make up the model. We can see a conveyor, electric motor, and conveyor. So that means these are all advanced rotors. We can see it all there. And we can see that this side of the hinge rotor has a conveyor port on it. So that is actually fully done, except the conveyor port might not actually be modeled on the block. But it looks like it is. So everything's good. Alright, so we can also look at mount points, which is really handy. We have the 1x1 here, and we can see the yellow markings, which makes up the mount points. And if I go through the various ones, we can see the various mount points associated with that block. So this is the gap one. You can pretty much see that it's mirrored on the sides. That the hinge has a single mount point on one side, and then the hollow one has a mount point on the door area. This thing has had a lot of tweaking done to it to try to make it work, but so far, no luck. Alright, let's look how it compares to the vanilla rotor. Alright, so it still has the bottom and side mount points, but ours are smaller because of the way it's designed. So this means that they both should be okay if the bottom part gets blown up, but we keep the top part and the sides. Let's check out the advanced rotor. So this is the advanced rotor, and we can see that it only mounts on the bottom, which may be unfavorable for some people that are trying to set up robust sort of designs. For something like a rotor, I think it should be mountable on more than just the bottom, because rotors tend to suffer damage. And just by having the single mount point, you can run into issues. And that means that the bottom's going to have to be conveyored to actually have components go through it, which means you're going to have a weak conveyor underneath it instead of something like an armor piece. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out the component costs. So we'll go here, and we can see it costs about 2 computers, 4 motors, 4 large steel tubes, 10 construction components, and 5 steel plates. And then the small ship version is 11155. So that means that it's going to be a bit more robust than most small blocks, but that's a good thing because, again, it's a rotor and you want it to take a little bit of damage before it actually explodes. So keeping those numbers in mind, let's go ahead and look at the vanilla rotors. So the components for this one look to be the same between the large and small ship version, and then the advanced rotor looks to be the same as well. So that means that they are balanced in strength-wise to be the same strength, which is good, so we don't have to worry about them being unbalanced or being too weak. Alright, so let's go ahead and add a small reactor here. And I'm going to disable the mount points. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is look how far they can offset. So I'm just going to go ahead and set these to displace. And we can see they raise quite a bit up. If I add this one right here, we can see that it's flush with the side. And then if I offset it, we can see it comes up to half the block. And we can see that it has a hollow tube here to kind of give it a better design instead of just being a solid block. But that increases poly count, which may be unfavorable to people on lower ends, but it's okay. Alright, so that pretty much looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and place one more armor block right here. And it looks like they go just shy of that end there. That looks to be about a small block distance, maybe half a small block that it doesn't reach up. So keep that in mind when you're trying to design something with it, that you don't get a full two large block distance of travel area. Alright, so that covers those. Let's look at the stats. I want to go ahead and place that one, and we'll place that one there. So looking at the 1x1, we can see that it has a strength of 33.6 million. I had the measurement. It's like nanometers or something like that. I don't remember. Newtons. Newtons per meter or something like that. I don't know. I had it memorized. Alright, so 33.6, and everything else is pretty much going to be the same throughout them. And then let's go ahead and look at the advanced rotor, 33.6, and the other rotor, which is 33.6. So that means they are balanced strength-wise with the vanilla rotors, which is good. So we got a 33.6 here. We go to the 2x2. We got 134, which is 4 times the 1x1, and then we get the 3x3, which is 9 times of the strength of the 1x1. So if you absolutely needed the strongest rotor possible, the 3x3 would be the one you want to go to, and keep size and balance and all that stuff in mind. The gap rotor looks like it's 2 times because it has 2 motors on each side, and then the hinge rotor is 33.6. And all of the component costs actually fall in line with one another, so everything is good on that end. So that means that all of these are linearly balanced with the vanilla models. So that means we're going to use these and we can expect the same results from the vanilla rotor to these rotors. So everything's very consistent and makes sense in a quick thinking sort of idea. Alright, so we have the small ship version to check out. So I'm going to go ahead and clear these. I'm going to add the 1x1 back and armor blocks. And go small ship and just snap it right there. And do a plate. And go ahead and throw some of these on there. So as we can see, they directly scale to small block size. They are 0.2 of their large block size, so that's good. That means that we get some pretty small rotors to work with. We can see that they have some pretty big conveyor ports on it. I think it requires some editing on Barag's plugin to make them actually scale properly, but that's not really an issue, so we should be fine. Let's go ahead and look at the strength of these. So 448. Let's go ahead and add the vanilla one and see how that compares. So coming into here, 448. So that means that these are directly balanced as well. So everything is good between the vanilla ones and the versions I've made. And that pretty much wraps it up. You got to see all the collision meshes. As you can see, they're consistent to these models, but it appears that they may be a little bit smaller than the mesh on these, but they appear to have the collision mesh, so that is good. Alright, so let's go ahead and hop out of the game and look at some of the code and see how things look there. I'm just going to go ahead and save and exit. Alright, so if you want to find where the mods are, make sure you go to this PC, local disk C, users. I'm going into Shaostoul, but yours might be administrator or some other username. And then go into app data, roaming, and scroll down to space engineers. Now this is also where you can find the crash log right here. So that's important to remember. We can find our saves here and all of our mods. So you can see these folder versions here, and these are local mods that are being made. So you won't typically have these unless you're also a mod author. I could scroll down and try to find the block, but I don't have the 9-digit number memorized to look at the code. So you go back to the workshop page, and this 9-digit number right here is actually corresponding to something in here. So we'll go ahead and scroll down, and it looks like we're looking for 491320, and that's right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just copy and paste so we get a duplicate of it just in case, and then we're going to select this end part and change it to .zip. So go ahead and do that. As you can see, I've already done it once. I wanted to make sure everything was good. So I'm going to go ahead and extract to the folder. Coming up here, we can see the 9-digit as a folder. And if we look at the file in the photo viewer, we can see that it's actually the Rotors. So we got the right one. All right, so the paths here are pretty much going to be in line with the way the devs have it for their stuff. So if a mod doesn't have it this way, it could contribute to it messing up somehow. I tried my best to follow the vanilla paths because early in 2015 they were going through some changes, and any mods that didn't follow the vanilla paths broke. So everything here is going to be pretty much identical to how they have it. So going into textures, we can see I have the GUI and icons, and we have the DDSs here, and these are going to be 128 by 128 images, so they're all going to be the same size. Going back, you can look at the models, and here's all the textures. These smaller ones are 16 by 16 images, and we can see that they're very simple looking. We have some larger ones here, and that makes up the little bump map that we had on the armor texture. But we can see that the aluminum and the copper is just a very simple texture. So if somebody wanted to actually take one of these textures and use it on their own, it'd be very easy for them to do it, and I wouldn't have any qualms about it. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back, check out the models and rotors. Now usually you'll see a large and small folder in here, but I actually have mine separated within one folder, and they are separated by name. So LG underscore block name, SM underscore block name, so it's large and small. And we can see that they are all there and that they all have construction models. Alright, let's go ahead and back up. and go to data, and we can see that it just has 2 files in here. The block categories is what makes it actually show up in the tabs in game. So we can see this is the name that we saw in the game on the tab, and then we have this name here, and that's used to sort it. So from this we could see that it's going to be up towards the top of the list, and it's going to be sorted after that by Shaostoul. So if somebody had something like a melody or something like that, it would be before mine. And here you can see all of them have their proper strings, which means each block will show up in the proper tab. Now, for those who are modders, remember that it goes the type ID and then the subtype ID. And here we can see I have the large versions and then the small versions. Let's go ahead and go back to data and open up the cube blocks. And here we can get some more information. You can see that I have everything set up in a very specific way. We have the large base and then the top part to that base. And we go down and we have the 2x2 and the 2x2 top, the 3x3 and the 3x3 top. We have the gap, but if we scroll down, we can see that it also has a rotor part. So there's the gap rotor part, and then we got the hinge, and this uses the 1x1 rotor part, so I don't need to have an extra block for it. And then we have the hollow one and the hollow rotor part, and we get into the small versions and all that stuff. Alright, so that pretty much looks to be in line with everything. We can see the sizes and all that stuff. We can see the component costs. We can see the build time right here, so it's 12 seconds to build the small one. We can see the strength and power requirements, and all of these values pretty much fall in line with the vanilla blocks, essentially, so we don't have to worry about this being unbalanced. I like to take it very seriously and making sure everything's balanced. That way we don't have things going crazy and having way overpowered stuff. Alright, so in one of my further episodes, I'm actually going to show you something cool that we could do with the 2x2 and the rails that Drago and I released. But that'll be another video in the future. Alright, so I want to load up and show you what happens with the hollow rotor, because it is dangerous. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's good to keep in mind that it might just explode on you, or you might get lucky and it actually places. Now, I don't personally know what the issue is. I've tried everything I can to make it work, but nothing seems to actually make a difference. Alright, so here we have the hollow rotor. I'm going to go ahead and just place it. Alright, so we saw an explosion, but nothing really happened. Now, I'm going to try placing it in other places, and you'll see that it's going to rip a giant hole into the armor. Oh, it looked like that one placed, but the rotor part didn't actually show up. Interesting. So they're actually letting me place them without exploding. I don't know why that is. It's magic of some sort. If I go into this mode and I look at physics, we can see that they have a small physics thing right here, and that they're actually hollow, and you could fly through them if you wanted to. I don't know why the rotor's not showing up now, but you can see they actually damaged the base when I placed them on there. So you need to keep that in mind. These do explode. I don't know why they're letting me place them now. No, it looks like one placed with the rotor. So you'd see it actually working there. And you can see that it has quite a large gap between it, so I'm not sure what's going on. I need to talk to one of the devs to try to get it fixed, but we'll find out eventually how to fix this stuff. But for now, I'd probably try to avoid using these unless you get lucky. Once they're actually placed and they have the rotor part on them, they work fantastically. But it's getting to that point. That's the hard part. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and exit. kind of sad you didn't get to see him explode. Alright, so coming back here. Alright, so if you would like to help. So yeah, remember, if you are a mod author or you'd like to see another mod get a review, send a comment in the comment section below and I will try to get to it. If you'd like to help me continue making videos, mods, and helping others learn to mod, be sure to check out my Patreon page in the description below, where you can provide a monthly donation. It can be real small. It could be like $1 or $5 a month. But yeah, a monthly donation to help fund the creation and education of others. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Have a good one.